We are very scared of things that go bump in the night. Even though these things, I don't know, you could be in a gymnasium, everyone's armed with a gun. One of these could come in and you could say, on your mark, set, go, and it would take us all out, even if we shot it a bunch of times. This is Beowulf. This is Hercules. This is, what are you ducks doing? This is, it's next level. It's how do I would argue that it is the top of the apex predators on land. It's basically like there's many paths to enlightenment. There's also many paths to the interiors of our world.
Sure.
And if you're really dialed in naturally, you can do it. But for us who've been misguided or not taught the ways of nature, we need technology to do what they do. If you're a deeply rooted person who is unknowingly an extremist, then no, you will not like it.
Sure.
If you are an open-minded soul that realizes even with all your guidance and your praying and everything that you still don't know 100%, so you're open to whatever, then no, it's beautiful. It's exciting.
So here we are. I am here with Ryan, RPG. I need to know what this stands for. I am so grateful to meet you. We are sitting here, right here, where this is going to be abundance, right? Not even maybe a year or two from now. What you are looking at is going to be transformed completely. And you're a great dude who I met along my path, my journey. I was amazed. I actually found out, I researched your name online. I found out you were on like Discovery Channel, the Travel Channel, all this stuff. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, first of all, who you are and why Bigfoot, because this is something that you specialize in. I looked it up and I'm like, wow, you even have an IMDb page focused on Bigfoot. So what's all the craze about Bigfoot? What got you into Bigfoot? Should people just pass that off, or is it something that people should seriously consider?
I would say what motivates you to get back to nature, right? And like going towards enlightenment, there are all different avenues to take because there's diversity in people. Hi, honey. You miss your boy?
We got an audience here.
Yeah. Daisy and Donald. Hey, we're not feeding right now. So anyway, long story short is what gets you out into nature. I grew up as a military brat, so we would move, and every time we would move, I would have to start off as the lowest kid on the totem pole at school.
Wow.
So below the smelly kid, below the weirdo kid, below it was new kid. So with that shiny new smell, you get picked on a lot, and you just naturally spend more time alone, at least to start. And I'm very social, and I played sports, so I was quickly integrated, but for a while, what would I do? I would go out into the woods. I'd just spend time by myself, and then, if there were haunted houses, I would go into the kids would say it's haunted. So, attempting to make friends, I'd be like, well, I'll go in there. And they'd be like, really? But it was all because I was searching for my tribe, searching for my community. And long story short, Mom was a librarian, and we were driving home from Maine when my father was stationed there. Mom didn't want to go. I don't want to live in Maine. That place is garbage. Then when we moved there, she's like, I don't want to leave Maine. This is the greatest place on earth. But we were driving home one time because in the beginning, she's like, I'm not living. So every weekend we would go up and down. And on the way back, I saw something standing on the side of the road up on a cliff face, and it was massive. And, I'm just a kid, and I'm trying to piss her off, but also keep her awake because of long rides. And this thing standing there, I'm kind of looking at it like, And my first thought was it's a bear. I didn't know about Bigfoot or bear anatomy at that point. I just saw there's something large standing there. It's a big bear. And then right when I went to go back to like razz her, this is kind of before seatbelts and all that fun stuff, right? Okay. Or there were seatbelts, you just didn't wear them. It turned and walked into the woods, like on two legs, and very human-like, not like a circus bear, And anyway, that like wowed me, and I was like, oh my God, I just saw a giant bear walking, And of course she's like, stop, you have a wild imagination, you're just being annoying. Cut to, I don't know the amount of time, but she brought home this book, and on the cover of this book, this Time Life series, was the outline that I saw, and it was Bigfoot. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, I've seen this. So then you open it up and you read about it, and they're saying it's a myth, or, it's a legend, it's not real, and most people don't believe in it, but I know what I saw. And so I was like, this is it. And I it's hard to remember exactly everything back then, but that really kind of triggered me to go, wait, there are things out there that could be real that people don't know. And at that time, too, I was really into Scooby-Dooby-Doo, which is what? It's a mystery, right? You're solving a mystery to find out what the monster is. And it always ends up being, an old white dude. But it makes you fall in love with the investigative journey. to find, so that's what got me really into it. That's like the foundation. And then I just, everywhere we moved, I just spent so much time in the woods, building forts and doing this, but also making calls and seeing if something's out there. And what happened with that is eventually, through the course of my career, I ended up moving out to California, and it's like, finally one day I went to my brother. I'm like, we went on all these adventures. We did all these silly things. This was before anyone filmed this. People are making money off this now. What if we film our adventures? Sure. So we decided, okay, well, it's a little after the fact, right? Because now we're becoming adults and all this stuff. So we did. We put something together called Monster Brothers. Okay. And it was a family show about our family doing what we always did, which is going places, and him and I going into haunted houses or going in the woods looking for Bigfoot, sea serpents, you name it. And we pitched it. We almost sold it to a bunch of different networks. I don't know if you remember Spike TV, but that was a big one, Discovery and all. They all loved us. But that's when reality TV was just starting to come in. And they're like, we love everything about it. You're nobodies. If you were somebody's, like ex-athletes, which would have been nice, should have been playing pro soccer. If you're exes, then it would work, but it wouldn't at that time. So they said no. But at the same time, as we were doing pickups for them, they said, okay, we want to see some more. Show us some more. So we brought in this guy named James Bobo Fay, who's like us. He's a man of the people. He's going to go out in the woods, have a good time, but also get the job done. So we took him out and we filmed, and our show did not go. His show went, and that was Finding Bigfoot. That became arguably the most famous newer show within the space. And that went for 10 years, 100 episodes. That's like, for TV, that's great success. So Bobo called me after season 1.5 or almost 2, and he's like, man, this is a grind, dude. We need your positive energy out here. We need you out here because we're falling apart and I'm sick of all these fools. And that's how I got going on that show. And when, Bigfoot was always a wonderful hobby, read about, love it, but it wasn't a career. You just, you talk to your parents, they're like, yeah, you can't make a career. Going to Hollywood was stupid. You can't make a career out of that. That's ridiculous. That's not a trade. And to be honest, there's a lot of truth to that, but anyway, so...
You're invited to a lot of podcasts, though, and a lot of people are curious about it. And people have said, like, oh, I heard something, or I experienced something. Right, you said, like, how many people experience a Bigfoot?
You are Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation from somebody that's had an experience, or at least knows somebody that's had an experience. That's what's kind of wild. So once you really start digging, you're like, it's right there. It's all around us. And then the question becomes, well, why? Like, why don't they just let people know? Right? Like, so the silverback gorilla, which is a massive, massive animal, that was a myth and a rumor that existed up in the mountains and nobody knew about it. And then until it was discovered, like 1904, 1905, it was a myth, right? So, and there's things like the giant squid. You've heard of all these other things that they're constantly discovering things in the ocean all the time. They just discovered a new type of orca in the Arctic Ocean. New type of orca. This is
so like a kraken could exist.
Oh, dude, kraken is the most famous sea monster of all time because it is in all of the old stories, especially from sea captain stuff run into it. But it was a different day and age. It was darker. There's a lot of light pollution now, and there's a lot of overfishing. So if you take away all their food sources, they're going to go deeper and become more rare and be more remote. People,
so there's multiple of them, you think?
Bigfoot or Kraken or both?
Or both?
Oh, absolutely. There has to be. Okay. There has to be
because there's so many different experiences.
Yeah. Right? Unless this one being was put here by a god or aliens or whatever you want, and it lives forever. That yes, and nobody can prove or disprove that. So it could be that.
So
could
it's
be
like a species, perhaps. Yeah.
Listen, there is 14 to 16 different type of hominids that existed on this earth, and with a wide range. From Neanderthal to we're Homo sapiens sapien. Denisovian, there's just a long list of them. And what our educational system teaches us is first of all, we can't even decide if evolution is real or creation is real. So they got us divided already, and that's about as deep as anyone goes. But okay, so let's just put those aside, and let's look at all these different hominids we know have existed because we found bones and we know. And we're just led to believe by ourselves, because they don't guide you to this, that through resource wars and breeding, we simply either assimilated them into us or just killed them off. Okay? Now I'll cut to a story. Okay, so Amboseli National Lodge in Kenya. Okay, it's a beautiful, massive park, Kilimanjaro in the background, elephants walking through during the day while you're shooting. Beautiful. the Maasai there, for their rite of passage, they would hunt lions. And when you become a man, you go out, you hunt a lion, you come back, and you bring the tail back. And you're like, boom, I'm a man now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Well, the problem is, you do that enough, guess what? There's no lions.
Huh.
So there hadn't been any lions. They swore there was no lions in that park. They were all gone. They were unfortunately hunted to extinction by the local people, so not as bad, but still bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then you talk to these conservationists. They're like, no, there's some left. And now where I'm going with this is a lion is an apex predator. It's at the top of the food chain, and its intelligence level, big cats, is kind of as high as you can go. You know, you get pigs and dolphins and
Sure.
humans, but very smart. These things realized when it came to protecting their own lives, they have these trees out there, these acacia trees that have thorns like this big. They're nasty. They found a big plot, very remote, but yet within their hunting area. They carved and picked off and built a path that they couldn't walk in. They had to get down and scamper. That was a circular. So it took time to get in, if anyone ever tried to come in, to in the center where they stripped all the branches and everything, where this very small pride could sleep and live. And they only came out at night from like 1 in the morning to like 4. The only time that nobody was around. And they would hunt, and if they didn't get anything, they're back. That's just a big cat, and it was smart enough to survive with Maasai warriors all around it, living, thriving.
Wow.
In Los Angeles, I live in Los Angeles, the largest raccoons I have ever seen. Like, nature finds a way, especially the more intelligent you are. They find a way. So now, if that's a big cat, and it's able to live in that close proximity to people that specifically, they don't have the distractions we have. They're not on cell phones. They don't have a TV. They are nature.
Yeah.
Like, they can tell. They could smell the cat. And they were able to hide from them. What can then a relic hominid, relic just meaning a lost version of ourselves, even though I would say they're not lost. People are in the know. We can get to that in a sec. But what are they capable then of? And in my opinion, they could live right there, and we would never know. We had a 350-pound gator on this property. Our next-door neighbor is like Captain Redneck, and I mean that as a badge of honor. Like, he hunts gators. He hunts. I live in the woods. I don't need a TV. You know what I mean? It was living in his yard, essentially, and he had no idea. We are so distracted currently as a species, and I think that's even if you don't have the TV and stuff, there's ways we get distracted.
Sure.
Usually just attraction to the other sexes. You know what I mean? That'll distract you for most of your life. But that gives them the ability to stay hidden right in front of you. And I think, so why don't they just let people know? Yes, it could mess with the Bible, it could mess with creationism, it could mess with this, in my opinion, a false history they have given us to kind of create this reality around us that's very safe. It's like being caged in a city, so to speak. But they're real. And they know they're real. And they're just afraid that if that gets out and you realize that they're in your backyard, what's that going to do to people? Like, how crazy are people going to get? Cut to another story. So there's a casino in Oklahoma, and this was early 90s, so just when the internet was coming out and they put videos out. And something was getting into their grease trap. So the grease trap behind the casino was like 6 feet off the ground, and then to lift the thing up, it had a really heavy top. Anyway, all this stuff. They're like, who's messing with the grease trap? Put a camera up. So they put a camera up. Well, this camera was just about 10 feet off the ground, and the next night they turn it on, and they just mouth agape, eyes wide, owls amazed. Something ducks to walk under it. Massive, hairy, goes up to the grease trap, opens it up, and is using a stick, just like apes, to taste the grease. The owner looks at it, looks at them, and says, destroy this tape, and just put a lock on the thing. Like, we're not going to mess with this. Well, they put it out on the internet for one night. And what do you think happened in one night? So you had to be lucky. Remember, not a lot of people were on at that point. People weren't doing that. Dude, everything with eye shine within miles of this casino, the bison in the field, dogs, cat, whatever, killed.
Wow.
Because we are very scared of things that go bump in the night. Even though these things, I don't know, you could be in a gymnasium, everyone's armed with a gun. One of these could come in, and you could say, on your mark, set, go, and it would take us all out, even if we shot it a bunch of times. This is Beowulf. This is Hercules. This is, what are you ducks doing? This is, it's next level. I would argue that it is the top of the apex predators on land. Obviously not in the ocean, although they go in the ocean. They can do it. A lot of Native American stories of them seeing them coming in, bringing in kelp. So what are they doing with that? I mean, we know there's medicinal benefits to it. We can make shampoo. You can eat. There's all sorts of things, but what are they using it for, right?
Interesting.
Are they using it to cook and do, different things?
Yeah.
So anyway...
I like how you brought a lot of it together.
Well, it's there's a lot to it.
Because
like,
I was going to ask those questions. I was going to say, how do people react, like the people who have seen it and spread awareness? And I was going to ask, what are those counter arguments to the people that say, oh, well, it's not true? And so you kind of covered both of those a little bit.
But this is also how do people react? So you have these, because people always say, like, well, how come we don't know that they're there? Everyone's got a cell phone. We'd see them. Do one study. Go to the park once and go there to watch people, not animals. Nobody's paying attention to nature, except for the elderly, who usually are nearsighted or farsighted or can't see as well, can't hear as well. Basically, they're not a good lookout for the world's greatest hide-and-seek champion, right? And also, they just don't care. Our concerns keep us rooted and just... we're distracted. We're highly distracted. So it's very hard to be present and to experience the true miracles of nature when you're not present. And that's it.
Now, is this Bigfoot experience being shared across different cultures all describing relatively the same characteristics? Like the same appearances?
Absolutely.
And what does it look like briefly?
First of all, the one thing that should have everyone going there real is you find me one Native American, and we'll just do North America, one Native American tribe that doesn't have them in their history, in their oral history.
Okay, so
one.
It is all...
Find one.
Okay.
Right? But we don't respect. We don't respect the past. We don't respect it. You know what I mean?
So people did see a lot of this back then?
Absolutely. Okay. And they consider them a lost tribe or brothers. Now, here's a really interesting thing. So what do they look like? They're like us. They're like humans, but they are naturally larger. So their females, let's say, would be between 6.5 to 8.5 feet. And that's like a nice range. The males, people in Ontario, Canada, we have something called Bergman's rule. So basically, the colder it is, the larger the body frame.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that you can deal with the heat loss better. And also, what's interesting is the larger an animal becomes, the more adept its system is off of running efficiently. So you basically, bigger you are, the less you have to eat, which is really interesting. So anyway, Bergman's rule, the ones up north up to like 13 feet tall. So now we're getting into the Nephilim and like Bible stuff. And this is just a rabbit hole that you can just keep...
Bible stuff.
Yeah, Bible stuff. But they're usually described as very large hominids, so upright, broad shoulders, although the one we saw here on our property down here had narrow shoulders, but it was still over 9 feet tall. So I think they have the same diversity we have, but on average they have a much larger frame. They're much more hairy, than we are. And I'd like to believe where we dove, kind of like the dwarves, and we dove into the mountain and into technology, and that got us into trouble, or it is getting us in trouble, they went the opposite way. They went, whoever created this was brilliant, or the council that created this, whatever you want to believe, and I'm going to dive deeper into nature. Because you were just talking about Qigong or Tai Chi?
Qigong.
Qigong. So imagine but you did that every day from when you were a little baby, and you've mastered it.
Yeah.
There's levitation, there's being able to change the frequency of the woods around you.
That is in all the ancient cultures that I've studied, especially with Taoism,
And so in my opinion, is if we weren't so distracted and we were brought up in tune with this, which is what we're bringing back with all this, Bigfoot Food Forest.
Absolutely.
We would be just more adept, and my belief is I want to be a bridge between our cultures, but there is no reason for that now. We're in my opinion, teenage years of development where we're just kind of a little crazy, right? But at some point, if we're able to match that frequency and that energy and that presence and awareness, which I'm hoping that's what we can do here, is really, it's going to be sending out a vibe that we may not be able to feel yet, but they'll feel, and they'll be drawn toward it. And that's what I love so much about you. You want the world to be closer to nature because that is the way it becomes better.
Yes.
Because what does that come with? Respect. We have no respect anymore. We don't. The problem is, whether you believe in God or not, you have to respect whoever created us, a God.
Right.
The second you go that far away, you will fall for every false narrative possible. And that's where it gets scary. So anyway, interesting thing too, though. If you were to take, so the most famous of all the Bigfoot videos is the Patterson-Gimlin film. Okay, from Northern California. It is, her name's Patty, after Roger Patterson. And anyway, it's the most disputed, but nobody can disprove it. Okay, or well, online some people say it's fake, some people say it's real. But it's the top, the mecca for our business. But if you were to take Patty and just remove all the hair, do you know what she looks like? You know, when you travel and you go to very remote places, doesn't matter if it's of the Asian lineage, the African American or African lineage or white, and you get people that are really ethnic. So their features are just, it looks like a token novel, like the ears are huge, the nose is huge, they're just much more exaggerated. That's all they look like. They look like people that live farther away from the campfire, from the light, from the technology, from everything that's slowly turning us and all of our interbreeding, you know?
Interesting.
They look human. They just look very ethnic, but human. Yeah. And you could, but you know, looking at it, you'd be like, well, I see some monkey in there, some ape in there, but same with us, right? Like same with us. So it's kind of fascinating, and nobody wants to touch on that because the problem with Bigfooting, it's not a problem. It's just where we're at is people want it to be the diehard. They're flesh and bone, and this is an animal. They're not interdimensional. They're not ghosts. They're not aliens. They're not from outside the. They want it to be an ape. You know, they really want that, and because that makes more sense to them.
Fits into an agenda.
And they don't even think they realize that they're even fighting for an agenda, even though we're in this little. We're in this side culture.
Because we're trained to learn about evolution and these certain types of things, yes. But even if it's the biblical narrative too, right?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know a lot of Christians who talk about Bigfoot or anybody who's
But they'll talk about the Nephilim in the Bible, but very briefly.
Yes.
We only touch giants briefly. And then, I won't dive too deep into this, but if you get into everything you've ever been taught is a lie, which is really the greatest starting place for anyone once you become an adult and you go, okay, I'm going to rebuild my knowledge base and try to make sure it's all factual. I do a whole thing on this, but so in the Bible they say the Garden of Eden, right? Garden of Eden, where there were only 26 or 27 different varieties of tree that only grew in the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
Only. Almost none of that grows in the Middle East where they say it is. Gopher wood, which is the main one, which is the ark was made out of, or is the ark, or I believe it was the ark and Noah's boat. Anyway, point is this special wood only grows in one place in the world. And do you know where that is? Florida. We are in Old Egypt, and I'll just be straightforward.
Yes, there's been documentation
pyramids,
about this.
More sarcophagi found here in the States. The way the rivers flow out from the south, it's everything that's written in the ancient text. It's here, but they've convinced us it's there.
Now, why is that significant?
Because if that stands true, right? Sure. If you just look at written text in the Bible and it says gopher wood, it was only found in the Garden of Eden, and of all the plants, they can be found everywhere. Gopher wood is only found in Florida. So that's your only hard fact. If that is true, if that can be all backwards, why can't Bigfoot? Why can't a lost tribe or a variety of different hominids exist in the remoteness of the wilderness? And I won't even say remoteness, right next to us. We're too blind to see them. And to go back on how people experience their encounters, the majority of people that have them are not into it. So, and it's quick. It's like an accident, or like if you've ever lifeguarded, when you have to save someone, it happens in a flash. Yeah. And what do we do with scary things in our life? I've noticed this. I asked them, how was I as a kid? What was it like being a mom? What was it like giving birth? Oh, it was wonderful. Listen, I know it was. I know I was a pain in the ass, and I know it was painful. But we look at everything with rose-colored glasses kind of towards the past. So, anyway, that's they're there. They're out there. They live in small groups. Sometimes we interact with them, but for the most part, they stay away from us because disease. They don't need to eat us. They don't need anything. But like humans, sometimes they are violent, and sometimes they are angry, and sometimes they can hurt people. But that is very rare because, like I said, with the casino in Oklahoma, if you alert us, we are very adept at reclaiming our space, violently. And who wants to mess with that? You know what I mean? Who wants? Sure. Especially when you can climb any tree, you can have any food source, you can run down any animal, you can throw stones. They could knock us both out right now in this thing. You know what I mean? When Leif Erikson came over and the Native Americans basically told them, like, don't go to Newfoundland, that's the land of the giants. Like, it's everywhere, it's in everything, but that doesn't have anything to do with my reality, right?
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah,
do you know who I am? Like, I am a man's man. We're going to go. And they went, and they're cruising along the coast, and you have 100-foot cliffs.
Yeah,
and
it
then
takes
trees.
a lot of bravery to, like, say, like, hey, I'm going to go to this other tribe or this other group. I mean, for thousands of years, even just among races of human beings, people kind of stay in their own ranks. So it's no surprise we're still doing that in different other ways.
And so, the major reason I would say why they don't want them to be made known is because we've taken the natural world that predators and animals naturally divide up areas, and they battle for them, but it settles in. We play our own game. We don't even take any of the animals or any of that, and for the most part, into consideration, and we draw our boundaries.
Yeah.
If it was to come out that they are free range and they are everywhere, and just like the old days with the buffalo, when there were so many, it would like sound like thunder for 24 hours, or the pigeons that would cover the skies for 48 hours as they flew over. There used to be like we only have that in the ocean now in certain spots. These mass things. They still travel the old routes. All of that would have to change, in my opinion, because if they were just animals, if they were just like some kind of a cat, they would make some changes, but they're intelligent. They could sit with us and speak to your heart, you know what I mean? Or like actually interact on a...
But they wouldn't invent technology or...
They don't need it.
Right. Because they're nature connected, you're saying?
If you could raise... Okay, so you have a guy named Wim Hof, right?
But we don't know if they've invented, right? Because we haven't seen them. True. In a way.
They could be aliens. They could be massively technologically advanced, and what they're wearing, like, they could get back on the ship.
So there is a wide scope of things we don't know
100%,
about this.
100%.
Okay.
And you're going to get people that swear they're flesh and bone.
Right,
you're going to get people
things.
that, and they argue, but once again, that's just the division that keeps us from getting to the answer.
Did you mention Wim Hof? Or
I just mentioned Wim Hof because, so now you have a human being, just a rad white dude who learns these Eastern philosophy of how to regulate his body, and then goes in shorts and a t-shirt and walks Everest and comes down without frostbite. Like that alone should have been broadcast on every channel. We should be cheering. We should all be teach. But
yeah, there is
a
miraculous things that aren't taught.
And that's one random human. And I just go back. That's a guy, and he was distracted most of his life, so he learned that later. What are they doing? They've been doing that since day one. They've been, they see him at extreme elevation and in very difficult places for us to go, like the middle of the swamp where there's all these bugs and everything. Well, what do we know now? If you have the right type of thing that can create the right frequency, mosquitoes don't come to you.
Yeah.
And if you want to climb... Anyway, they're just fully adapted, and they have everything... But okay, so it's basically like there's many paths to enlightenment. There's also many paths to the interiors of our world.
Sure.
And if you're really dialed in naturally, you can do it. But for us who've been misguided or not taught the ways of nature, we need technology to do what they do. And or
at least we think. Right?
I guess it's like a shortcut. It's like a cheating way. We could train.
Or maybe trying to reconnect to our past, even, right?
Sure.
If we came from aliens, if we came from civilizations that were previously more advanced, and when we merged, like there's the Anunnaki story of they came down to Earth, they merged us with the humanoids or whatever was here. What if it was Bigfoot? What if that was our former, and then we merged and turned into a new species?
And what happens when we do experiments? There's always different variations that come up. So I 100% think whoever they came, they saw the old apes or the monkeys, and they did. They combined DNA, and some say it was to create a slave race to mine gold. Some say it was for this. Some say it was for entertainment. Who knows what it was for? Do
you think the religious folks would like this very much? I don't know. Does it go against their idea of God, or could it work with it?
I just, unless if you're a deeply rooted person who is unknowingly an extremist, then no, you will not like it.
Sure.
If you are an open-minded soul that realizes even with all your guidance and your praying and everything that you still don't know 100%, so you're open to whatever, then no, it's beautiful. It's exciting. And if that gets someone to get to God someday, and your God, whatever God, loving God you choose, wonderful. But it's like you want to always remain a little bit of a philosopher so that you have that flexibility, because once you lose the flexibility, that's when lines start getting drawn.
Yeah.
That's when, the ego starts to win. And I'm sorry, unless God sits here right now and goes, all right, here's the truth.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because,
Yeah.
I mean, you may even notice it among researchers, whether they're on one side or the other, they get so, like you said, so driven in what they think they know.
Yeah.
And even if it was an experience, projecting that to others, very egoic sometimes. So I appreciate you, for noticing that. I noticed within the flat Earth community, just to mention, they're very big within the world, right?
Yeah.
And there's been some friction lately because some went to Antarctica, and so many people thought it was fake.
Yeah.
And there was literally, they had to explain for hours and hours, and then show footage 360 HD. Like for 24 hours that it wasn't fake. I mean, how much more evidence could you need? It was insane, but yet people were still in denial in their ego. And then, but it goes both ways. You have people who are just attacking others. It was like incredible to see egos everywhere.
You defend your reality, and that's okay. And people, I think that's totally fine, because it really disrupts you if it doesn't.
Yes.
And so if you're going to go look at this, especially of the Earth being flat, okay, the Pentagon has a film budget. That just alone, we should just sit here and. So what does that mean to you? A film budget. The Smithsonian has $1 billion budget. When do you hear anything about them?
So obviously, you've delved into a lot of stuff.
You're battling a machine that keeps us in the dark and keeps people fighting for this narrative and this reality, of which Bigfoot is starting to crack open. But they allow that because we live in a fear culture. So the reason it's allowed, in my opinion, very humble, is because it adds to the scariness. They want people in the city. I call it the campfire. They don't want you wandering too far, because if you go out there, when you go out there, you're gonna start to experience and see and live things that don't make sense here, and that raises questions, and that can create revolution and new. And that's not. We're farmed. I mean, I hate to say it, but we are, in a way. We are farmed. To what purpose? That's up to discussion. But we are most definitely farmed.
So is it Bigfoot that really got you questioning everything, or was it something else in your life?
Well, no, it was all paranormal. Like the fact that, people that I trust that would never lie to me and don't want to tell stories to other people because they don't want to be shamed, because that's another part of the keeping you within the fences, are like, I had my aunt. She's wasn't supposed to make it through childbirth. She's died multiple times. She had all these problems. So she has this unique psychic link or gift. And just as an example, she'd broken up with her girlfriend, and it was months later, and the girlfriend's father passed away, and they come to her in the night to ask for help, just like Sixth Sense, like that. That's real for some people. And she's like, I don't do that anymore. Please stop bothering me. But he was a little man dressed in military fatigues, and he had this little tin box, and he kept showing her. And finally, after a couple weeks of him bothering, she's like, okay, what do you want, Eddie? Okay, you want me to tell her that? She's gonna. Okay, I'll tell her, but you gotta leave me alone. So he calls her up and says, this is gonna sound crazy. I'm so sorry. Your dad showed up. He's telling you, he knows you're selling the house. Before you do it, check the floorboards upstairs near your bed. There's a loose board, and there's a box with roughly $20,000 in coins he wants you to have. And she's like, okay, right. And she's like, I know. Sorry, love you. Sorry, bye. Goes up, finds a loose board, $20,000 in coins. What is that, Cory? Like, that alone should be. If I came into school and we were going to focus on that and figure that out and try to, wow, I would be an amazing student, But we just gloss it. That just doesn't fit within this narrative. The Kardashians, this, whatever you want. Let's war in Ukraine.
It's amazing when you go down that path. You meet so many people who have amazing experiences.
We almost all do.
Like Pat Miletich, he's a UFC world champion. You listen to his stories, it's like, what just happened?
How is that possible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yet, and it's exciting, and for a moment, but we have now slid that, which is, in my opinion, that's like a little lighthouse going, check this out, figure this out, and this will get you closer to the source. But that's it. It's a quick vicarious voyage into an interesting story, but they've made us feel like it's just entertainment. That's entertainment.
Yeah, I feel like experiences are often undervalued because, the intellectual resource is rather overvalued. I mean, people want to be able to philosophize and intellectualize everything, but let's say the religious experience of somebody saying, oh, gods or angels came to save me, nobody's going to believe them unless they experience it themselves. It's really hard for them to plead their case, and most people are like, yeah, I know from experience. So it's always going to be a contention for
Yep.
the people who by definition view the world in a different way. So very
But it's also
fascinating.
how we learn, so you can't like hate them for that.
Right.
Like we need to get
Exactly.
hands-on and do it. So it's like it's a struggle.
Yes.
But you know what? How many? I always say
like
to
you said,
people,
if you have an open mind, I think everything kind of works out.
and I say to people, if you're curious about Bigfoot, who would you believe?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have that person. For me personally, within the space, you know who without getting to know them or dive too deep, I will kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. First responders, retired park rangers, people that were very successful in life, because those people, luckily, success usually means you can stand above the shame game, which is so powerful. People want people to love them, even though they want to be individuals. You know, it's confusing being a human being, but like that is, yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard to get to them, everybody, because we want to defend what we think is right, unfortunately. But keep an open mind. Like that is, to me, that is one of the biggest signs of intelligence, is staying open to the fact that you may not know everything.
Right.
You may be wrong.
Absolutely.
And then being able to apologize and quickly and flexibly move with it then, you know, not get caught up. But anyway, sorry.
No, great
I'm a
point.
babbler. I'm a rambler.
I am curious.
Barefoot.
Are there people who have done like experiments with technology, like trying to find like radar scans to like detect body heat and stuff? Because I'm sure there's stuff out there.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you know anybody who's done that too? Or
Yes, but here are the things you run into, right? So they have a system set up to monitor everything. Like I said, they have a film department, the Pentagon.
Really?
The CIA has
Oh, well, I'm talking about like the Bigfoot researchers.
No, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
So what I'm getting with is, in order to do any real research outside of private land, you need to get permits. National parks and big federal parks are obviously where these things would hide, because everything is controlled, monitored, and people are only put in certain areas. They're all there. So the problem is if to do it legitimately, to where that audience would then take you seriously, they control the entire process up to the delivery of what you're going to show them. So it's almost impossible to get the truth or have any of your technology work. Because you know what I would do? If I knew you were coming in with a film crew and I know there's a family living in there, I'd push them out when you came. I'd go in on horseback or whatever, or use drones, because I know where they are. We have the technology to map the woods. Like if they're flesh and blood and they're giving off heat and they're not buried underground, we can even use LiDAR to get underground. And we've used all that on the shows and everything.
Interesting. Okay.
But my professional opinion after all these years of doing it, you let the government agencies know that you're coming, and odds are you're going to get jack shit. So my advice is not to do things illegally, but to move stealthily if you want true experiences.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about Bigfoot. Hopefully this definitely, wow, you have a lot to share around this. It was amazing. A lot more than I thought. It was just incredible. But that's why, you're invited to so many podcasts, and I encourage people to check it out. Is there any particular resources you recommend for people who study Bigfoot? Are there any big content creators or anybody who, you want to refer people to, or your own work or anything like that?
The first thing I always say to people, especially when they come up and they're like, "You don't really believe, do you?" is immediately I recognize someone that just has done no research, zero. But they're curious, because you wouldn't say anything unless you're partially curious. So for my Floridians, there is a documentary made by a business partner of mine named Stacy Brown called The Skunk Ape Lives. The Skunk Ape Lives. And it's just a very simple doc. But if you want an introduction, it's basically a historical layout of the activity within Florida. I recommend that highly, because if you watch that and you still think it's complete BS, then you are deeply entrenched in the Matrix, and God bless it, But if you watch it and your curiosity is piqued, then yes, reach out to us and let's talk. Because once again, it comes back to, who do you believe? And in this video, you'll see a gentleman, when they do the big slash and burns, which just happens, I won't go too, I know we're going to go, but you do a big slash and burn, they have veterinarians on site, and they have people that work for the park driving around in trucks on the edge, collecting animals that make it out that are, they smoke inhalation, and they bring them to the vet to see if they can save them. So, just normal thing. Well, these two dudes are driving around, and this thing comes stumbling out of the thing, and they're like, I know what that is, but that's not real. And it was a skunk ape, and it was legit skunk ape, and they called it in, and they said, hey, within faster than their team could get there, unmarked vehicles show up, and they say, okay, nice, thank you, this is good. They remove the body, and they're like, that's weird. And they're like, okay, gentlemen, well, for the record, congratulations, you saw a black bear. And that's what they tell you to say. And these two dudes are like, that's not a black bear. We know what that is. They're like, no, you saw a black bear. And as long as you just say, yeah, I saw a black bear. And most people will, because they will continue to apply pressure. And they did to this one particular guy until they finally told him, like, do you like your job? It's just simple questions to ask. But think about that. That's your livelihood. You have a family. You got to take care of them.
Yeah.
Is bringing the truth of this forward, which isn't going to give you any money or anything. If anything, it's going to call people to call you crazy, or just shut up and fall back in line. And that happens more than you will ever know.
Wow.
But anyway, that video will show you that there's some people, once they retire, as long as you black their face out, they'll tell you. I know exactly what happened.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
It's profound.
So the end goal of this, return to nature, right?
Return to nature, have to.
Would you say it's the same goal of what we're trying to do here? Grow
100%,
food?
100%.
Could you give me a vision
Yeah.
of what you imagine seeing here on this property?
I imagine when we moved here, we said, this is Eden. We named our fourth child Eden. You talk about manifestation and that it's given you this beautiful life. We practice manifestation as well. It gave us this beautiful spot. So we are currently manifesting together. The end goal of this place is literally to create. They are developing all around us, but we will not fall. And we will have an oasis in the middle of it that will bring all nature, all life. It'll feed the birds. It will be a place that's still, it'll be the heart of this area, and it will thunder. It will be a thunderous heartbeat, because people like us will draw people to it. Come back to nature. Come back and just see how good you feel. I mean, one of my things is going to be like, take your shoes off when you get here. And people, that's crazy to people.
Yeah.
They have no idea that those are coffins for your feet and that they're messing your body. They have no idea. But come and just take baby steps back to the real you.
Yeah.
And if my babies run around here and there's real food they can pick off the trees and they eat it raw. My favorite thing growing up was coming home, getting off the bus, running out to the garden, taking the carrot right out of the ground, eating it with dirt and all.
Wow.
You can, you energize, you feel it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about the energy. Like, people should come here and leave and go, I'm addicted. Wow.
Yeah.
And I hope we build that, but not just the land itself and
We
the food
will.
and everything, but through our own personal energy and our desire to create community, because it's hard, man. It's hard.
And we will, because being that I've seen it, I've experienced it in person. That's what inspired me to want to do this with you. So I mean, it's just incredible. Thank you so much. This is already beautiful. And just by bringing people together and you getting involved out there wherever you're from, you're always welcome to visit Florida and visit Jim Gale, visit us. Let's get involved. You can grow things no matter where you are. We're all learning together. We're going to learn a lot in this process, right? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of amazing people, a lot of amazing solutions, and we're open to it. And if you want to learn about Bigfoot, this might be the place to be, right?
Yeah. Well, see Bigfoot more as like just something that opens your door to more. What else? And what other interesting innovations could we do here that mainstream media would say are foolish and that wouldn't work, like electroculture or cloud seeding or like different things. Let's experiment and let's have fun. Let's be like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and explore, you know. And anyway, so the potential is off the charts and
beautiful.
But we need a tribe, we're only two. So we need your passion, your love, and your desire to go back to nature.
Yes, and thank you for everybody out there. I appreciate it. Ryan, anything else you want to say? Any last words?
I've got 2 more hours of stuff to say. No. We're good. We can pick it up again.
Hey, you want to continue this conversation? Join us in person. Let's do it.
And if you are presently cohabitating, which we are here, but they've moved farther away because we have big dogs. Dogs will scare them away. I would love to know. And more just to give you a hug, because that's and to me, that's really special. It's like sharing your land with any apex predator or whatnot. But I'm very happy for you, and if you have any questions or concerns, or they're acting a little more aggressive, reach out to me. I have all sorts of ways to help with that. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And so guys, be sure to subscribe to Bigfoot Food Force. We created this channel, and I want you guys to all subscribe to it. Let everybody else know who's in Florida or around the world, who's into permaculture, into Bigfoot, into just sharing the ideas and creating innovation, creating an off-grid, creating a community. I think a lot of people can resonate with this message at the fundamental level, even if you don't agree with Bigfoot, all the other things we talk about. We want to share, we want to create an environment where no matter what you think, let's all share that together, and we all can agree that growing food is healthy. We all can agree that we all want to live free and happily. So let's do that.
And curiosity is the foundation of intelligence, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. So if you can come and just stay curious, you don't have to believe, and we can. And I like a good heated conversation over things because it's awesome. Because passion is also something that we love to follow, right? But just stay curious, man. The world's a big, beautiful place for those that stay curious about it.
All right. Thank you. This is Cory, Nature is the Answer.
This is Ryan RPG Golembeske, Bigfoot Food Forest.
Check it out.